There is no way that he just said this. Colin Cowherd has just called out J.J. McCarthy and saying that he is not qualified to be the franchise quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. We're going to be breaking down this insane quote, what he had to say, and why Colin Cowherd is genuinely insane for saying this. We're going to break it all down here in this video of Vikings Digest. Very quickly, before we jump into the video, be sure to hit the sub button if you haven't already. We know there's a percent of you guys watching right now are not subscribed to the channel. If you're looking for a spot for all of your Minnesota Vikings news, you're in the right spot. Hit the sub button, join us here on the channel. We're covering everything Minnesota Vikings. But ladies and gentlemen, I had seen this a few moments ago, and I thought I needed to make a video on this of Colin Cowherd calling out J.J. McCarthy, the Minnesota Vikings, and deeming him not fit to be a franchise quarterback for this team. Him and his co-host on his show genuinely are making Vikings fans livid with what he had to say here. Let's get straight into it. Starting off with Colin Cowherd here. 4th place finish. I'm all in on the Lions winning it and the Bears winning a wildcard spot. Minnesota could be an 8-game win with JJ and be a really good team, but they are not pulling off last year's win total. That is the easiest team to predict a pullback of their win. Now, this is absolutely correct from Colin Cowherd, saying that, the Vikings are not going to be near their projection. That, I'll say not near. I'm going to say probably a 10, 11, 12 win team. They had some good games last year, and Sam Darnold certainly won us some that, many other young quarterbacks may not have. However, saying that the Vikings are going to be an 8-win team with a better offensive line, a better defense, of course lacking a bit there in the secondary, and I'll touch on that here in a little bit, but the weapons that we have on offense and J.J. McCarthy being ready to roll, this is genuinely insane that you can give the Vikings an 8-win season. And I'll kind of jump into why later and whatnot, but we have another quote from his co-host here, and I'm not even going to mention any names. Colin Cowherd and his co-host did not hold back when discussing the Vikings and J.J. McCarthy. The notable radio host has always been one to make bold statements and hot takes while not mincing words, but on Wednesday he decided to go after the Vikings, J.J. McCarthy, and that was with the quote I just said. But when we look at what his co-host had to say right here, said that McCarthy does not look like a part of a franchise quarterback, citing his hair and hat being backwards, just like mine right now, although I'm not a starting quarterback for this Minnesota Vikings team, which we don't have the time or energy to get into, is what this Yahoo article is saying. Now, citing that because of his hair, because of his backwards hat, deeming that he is not a franchise quarterback is one of the most insane things I genuinely have ever heard when trying to debate whether a quarterback or not will be a great starter for your team. Now, this is one of the most, old school football things I've ever heard. Now, maybe 50 years ago, absolutely go ahead, but it's a new game. It is genuinely a new game. J.J. McCarthy, the kid is, 21 years old. You're blaming his backwards hat and hair for the Vikings not being a franchise team, or him not being a franchise quarterback, and the Vikings being an 8-win team. Say all you want about the Vikings definitely having a win-loss from last year. That's almost guaranteed. The Vikings had a great season, but getting a record like that is not something that you get every year. However, going to the point where they're saying they're going to be, an 8-win team, maybe even miss the playoffs if that were to be a term, of course, it's a very heavy division, very good division, and the fact that, the wild card, we were in the wild card last year, just goes to show how good it is. I genuinely cannot fathom the fact that they're blaming J.J. McCarthy, backwards hat, hair, and him just genuinely not being able to be a franchise quarterback because of that. That is just making Vikings fans going to hate Colin Cowherd more. Colin Cowherd is definitely not liked by many people, and it goes to show why. Things like this. What is the point of saying this? There's no benefit to even, having statistics to back it up. It makes genuinely no sense. But with that being said, the Vikings roster is mostly unchanged, just once again from Yahoo here, and it's the roster that won 14 games with Sam Darnold under center last year, and McCarthy coming into the fold with the offensive line getting revamped should have a team competing for a wildcard spot again in the worst case scenario. And obviously, we hope it's a division win. We hope it's a whole being able to get into the playoffs right away, have that bye, get in there without the wild card like we had last year. The wild card is no fun for a team that's 14-3, and it goes to show last year what happened with that. And I do genuinely believe, and you can book me on this later, count me in for a quote later on after this season during the playoffs. J.J. McCarthy will lead this team to a very similar, if not better, record than the Detroit Lions and top of the division. So book me on that, write it down, come back in a year's time, let me know if I'm wrong. But right now, the way that Colin Cowherd is describing this, and this only makes me seem like it's going to light a fire under J.J. McCarthy and for the remainder of his season, because you know, he's a dog. What we've been able to see from him in his last few kind of appearances, quotes, and whatnot from the media, he's ready to go. He said he's 110% healthy and that he's ready to be a starter. And once again, when we kind of go back to this little video, you see that dog in him. You know, it makes a lot of sense why J.J. McCarthy's got to where he is, how much he's healed up, how much he's been around the team, how much the team cares about him already. We're not even playing a game. It goes to show that he is going to be a long-time quarterback for this team, and hopefully we see things play out well. Hopefully we see things stay healthy, because we know his level of play is exactly where we need to be. And looking at the offense that J.J. McCarthy has, it's obviously a very good one. You know, coming into this season, coming into this whole, or I should say coming into this offseason, but still some moves that could be made. You never know what happens later on. We know right before the season, some crazy stuff happens always, but J.J. McCarthy here with Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason, Ty Chandler. That's an incredible running back trio there. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Jalen Naylor, Rondale Moore. That is a very good 4 as well. And with Ty Felton there as well, the Vikings draft pick, they have some wide receivers that are going to be doing a lot of good here this season. Tight ends, T.J. Hawkins, Josh Oliver, and the newly acquired Gavin Bartholomew, who was once again a draft pick as well. C.J. Ham, the best fullback in the league. And then we go to the offensive line, which is completely revamped. One of now, I will argue, say the best on paper, because we haven't seen them play yet. And I'm going to say they're going to be one of the best playing when we see them actually get on the field as well in the NFL. And, you know, say what you want about J.J. McCarthy. He's young. He hasn't played that much. He was in a run-heavy team in Michigan. You know, the Vikings have enough assets to make anybody in quarterback good. We saw Sam Darnold his years prior to the Vikings. We saw what Kevin O'Connell can do to any quarterback in this system. And we're looking at this the same way J.J. McCarthy, except J.J. McCarthy has more talent than any quarterback that we've seen in quite some time on this Minnesota Vikings roster. Now, you can argue the defense as well. Maybe a part where the Vikings are going to lose some games and whatnot. You know, in the secondary, I won't argue too much. The secondary took a big hit in losing Cam Bynum and losing Shaq Griffin, losing Stephon Gilmore, and we've seen reports that one of those players are likely to come back and, you know, not Cam Bynum, of course, but Shaq Griffin, Stephon Gilmore potentially coming back in a later on signing to get this the cornerback room a bit busier, a bit more veteran leadership there, and, you know, that will help eventually as well. But when we're looking at the defense, it just got better once again. Jonathan Allen, Harrison Phillips, Javon Hargrave, Jalen Redmond, Bo Richter, Jonathan Grenard, Ivan Pace, you know, Brian Asamoah, Blake Cashman. I could go on forever reading how deep and how good this defense is. And of course, you know, the secondary is a bit iffy there when we're looking at that. And, you know, we see Andrew Van Ginkel there, new extension coming in, Blake Cashman, Brian Asamoah, Dallas Turner, Jeff Okudah, Ambry Thomas, Harrison Smith coming back for what will likely be his final season, Theo Jackson, Isaiah Rodgers, Byron Murphy, you know, Mekhi Blackman, Josh Metellus, Jay Ward. I could go on and on and on with this. This team is built to win. And saying that your franchise quarterback, what is going to be your franchise quarterback, and I'm positive he will have that success, will not be a franchise quarterback because of his hat and hair, is genuinely one of the most insane things I've heard about any player, you know, any player's fit for their current team and how they will kind of work out with an NFL team. So let me know what you think in the comments below about all of this. Let me know and kind of sound off on Colin Cowherd in the comments below, because we know that, you know, he's had some insane takes, and I'm sure a lot of it is kind of a bit of a rage bait and stuff like that, but this is genuinely crazy that you can even put this into conversation, and especially as co-host, you know, just genuinely insane. So let me know what you think in the comments below. That's all I got in this video. If you did enjoy it, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. That's all I got. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.